I am Patricia Oliart, senior lecturer in Latin American Studies in Newcastle University. I first heard about the festival from my dear colleague Vanessa Knights. She passed sadly, I think in 2007, and she invited me to take part in one of the events of the first version of the festival, presenting a photo exhibit of a Peruvian photographer. It was going to be an opportunity to showcase cultures from Latin America, Spain, Portugal in the city, and Vanessa told me we were going to take over the city for a few days. In 2009, and from 2009 to 2014, I was a partner in the festival in the role that Nick Barrera gave me as co-director of the festival. But the way in which I saw it was that I wanted to make every effort possible to bring the university to the city through the festival. But there is a really large community of scholars and postgraduate students working on the Iberian Peninsula and in Latin America as well. The reason why I got so enthusiastic with participating in the festival is that I come from Latin America, from Peru, and there we really have a long tradition of having academic institutions very engaged with community work and with society in general. Is sort of a view of the mission that universities have. So the festival was for me an opportunity to really engage again with that kind of ethos. We organized, in the case of Spain, for example, there was a PhD student at the time, Paco Betancourt, and he's a guitarist and a student of ethnomusicology, and he always made sure that there was something of his academic passion, but also his life as a musician regarding flamenco, so there were lots of flamenco events. We also got together a few music events, because I'm also a singer, and for 10 years Paco and I somehow did music together, talked a lot about music, and put together really lovely events, and I got to sing as well, which is something that I used to do in Peru, but wasn't doing here. Every Portuguese lecturer we had has been amazing, organizing students' participation in Vamos events. For example, we had an incredible Festa Junina picnic. This is the celebration of São João in Brazil, and it's a massive party, and we had lots of students participating, dancing, and it was really fun. The festival was an opportunity to showcase, but also to bring people along, and we have had really lovely events where people not only let's say consumed the event, but also participated in creating them. There was one amazing night we had at Barloco. We had many events at Barloco, and they were always very welcoming with our initiatives. There was one event where we had, I remember 3 events in Barloco that were quite interesting. One is this night of poetry, music, and images of the houses of Pablo Neruda. And in the event, we had a person from Newcastle reading poems he had written when visiting Neruda's houses in Chile. We had an academic who had worked on Neruda, reading Neruda's poems. And then we had a band of people singing Chilean songs, and it was a very nice, warm event that had been created by someone from the city. No? I enjoyed myself enormously, I have to say, and the fact that we could create events where people felt not only welcomed but part of something celebratory of their cultures, I think was a very good experience. And then I think probably in my case, something that was closer to me was a relationship with the Colombian community here. As you know, for decades, people have been fleeing Colombia due to the violence there. And there is a really large community of Colombians living in Newcastle. And they were part of many of the celebrations we had. Cumbia was present many times, and just seeing them dancing so happily in the events was great. Something that I really liked was that kind of participation, or the space that was in those circumstances for people to bring themselves into the festival. No? Yubel Soria, Francisco Volcan, you know, very well-known members of the Latin American community in Newcastle were part of this group, and they approached the festival to propose to organize a carnival. And it was great. It was an amazing event, and then it became a tradition in the festival, something that looked very hard to achieve at the beginning because of all the logistics, but the energy was there and it happened. No? Another thing was to create events where students could present their work. I had in my mind this series called like Fresh from the Field. So students who had conducted fieldwork could present their work. And there was a lot of people and a lot of questions, and a really very interesting, to the point questions from the audience, no? That gave me a sense of how Latin American immigrants are perceived, but also the solidarity and true concerns about the situation of immigrants in the country. No? One of the features of the festival was the end party at Crusoe's and I was in the metro once, and there was a local family going to the party, and they were saying how they felt like they were on a holiday in Spain. You know? And the love for salsa is also something that is you know, well known. So I think a lot of people was probably interested in that aspect of the festival, but I also think that the program gave people the opportunity to know about other things, no? From food to history, or you know, other aspects of the culture. And in that sense, also, I think something that we did was to bring musical expressions that were not salsa. No, I don't think people had ever seen an Afro-Peruvian band here, and the music was amazing, and the energy that they generated with the audience was great. They had people dancing in the end, and after the concert, there was a social event, and the Peruvian guys started playing their rhythms, because it wasn't a melody, it was just the cajon and the percussion, and then the Cuban guys started dancing, and then there was this incredible dialogue between percussion and music, and smiles and looks and faces. It was incredible. This relationship between culture, politics and activism is pretty much what I have done all my life, from my late teens until now, in one way or another. I think that's something that defines me, and I enjoy doing. I think people find ways to connect anyway, but it would be nice to have, or to give some kind of recognition in the city to that presence, no? because we are here anyway.